Not gonna lie, that's a pretty nice intro.
Hey there YouTube, and welcome to Willivision. Today I wanted to talk about one of the most important topics in the gaming landscape, which is gaming on a console versus gaming on a PC. In the long history of video games, the debate between the console versus the PC as the best gaming platform now stretches back decades. With the broadening of the gaming market due in part to the release of runaway console success stories such as that of Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox brands, and the centralization of PC gaming under Steam, more people are playing games than at any other point in history, and consumer data reveals that this trend will only continue in the years to come. As the base of players grows, the debate between the consoles has only intensified. Many of us have become familiar with or even on the receiving ends of monikers such as Sony Pony or Xbot, these titles being hurled towards the opposing trench lines in the perpetual console wars. But the debate between the console gamers and PC gamers has similarly raged. Before I continue, I want to make a quick disclaimer. This video is part 2 of a 2-part series where I discuss the pros and cons of console gaming and PC gaming, because I want the average consumer to have a better idea of what each platform brings to the table instead of simply hearing one side of the discussion. I still game on both platforms myself, and both of them have their advantages and their disadvantages when compared against each other.
Sure, you can say that both have their own advantages and disadvantages, but objectively speaking, PC has more and better advantages than consoles.
So think about this question. What makes PC gaming or console gaming better to you, and let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Looks like most people disagree with you.
So let's start with reason number 1 that console gaming is better than PC gaming, and that is that consoles are easier to use.
Oh god.
As Mikhail Kalashnikov, designer of the AK-47, once said, all that is complex is not useful, and all that is useful is simple.
Yeah. And that's why a PC is useful, because it is not complex. I mean, a computer is one of the most basic things that most people use nowadays. Everybody knows how to use a computer to the most part.
And when it comes to consumer electronics, setting up a video game console is one of the easiest things to do. When my Xbox arrived, I opened it up, plugged the necessary cords into my television, went through the process of accessing my Wi-Fi and logging into my account, downloaded the necessary updates, and used my free subscription Xbox Live. I accomplished all of these things in roughly 2 hours before I was able to begin downloading my first game. This is just not the case with the PC. Firstly, PC gaming requires the loading of an operating system, downloading Steam, checking your graphics card and updating the driver, so on and so forth, before you can eventually begin to actually play games.
And how is that different from a console? You had to plug the Xbox, connect it to your internet to download a bunch of updates, and used your free subscription for Xbox Live. All that took you 2 hours because your console will stifle the internet speeds, and the installation will be slow on a console. On a PC, you have to install the operating system and the necessary updates, which will take an hour at most. After that you can simply download Steam Origin or any other client and play games. All this will be done in less than 2 hours because your PC will not stifle the internet and your installation speeds. And once you have installed the drivers, you can select Auto Update and forget about further updates. You don't have to manually install latest updates. Also, on the Xbox you had to get the Xbox Live subscription to play online, but on a PC online is free.
Is this process ruinous? No. Is it as bad as pulling teeth? Certainly not. Is it simple? Not compared to the plug-and-play experience of a console.
How is it plug and play if you had to wait 2 hours to download and install the updates? How?
Additionally, if you want to play on a gamepad, many older games don't support that option, requiring you to go and download a third-party program in order to do so, which may or may not work at all. Even if it does work, that gamepad feature is often costly in terms of time and difficult to make work without significant trial and error. Now compare that to using a controller on your console, which requires virtually no effort. You put in your batteries and you press the on button. Very easy.
But what are those games which don't support the gamepad? 90% of the games on PC have gamepad support, and many older games also have gamepad support. You didn't mention any game specifically, nor did you give any examples of this issue happening. You just said, older games don't support that option. What games? Well, if they are old games then they definitely won't be on the console. The only place you can play them would be on the PC. And even if the game doesn't support it, you can use a third-party gamepad emulator to use the gamepad, and it is not difficult to do so. Downloading the emulator, connecting your controller and configuring it is not complex or time-consuming. This is what console peasants always do. They always try to make it seem like PC is complex when in reality, it is just more versatile.
And that's where this point ends. A PC is almost always going to be a superior machine, but not always a necessary one. And if you decide to purchase a PC, be prepared for the maintenance and natural issues that you will experience with a complex computing machine, because they will happen, and when they do, you'll need to know you can take care of them.
Well then, if you're buying a console, be prepared for the natural issues and maintenance costs that will eventually happen. Also, be prepared to pay for a subscription so that you can be allowed by Microsoft to play online.
Which brings me to my next point. Reason number 2 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that repairing consoles is easier than repairing a gaming PC, at least for catastrophic issues.
Are you drunk?
Imagine that you're playing your Xbox one day. You're in the midst of an epic showdown with an immensely powerful brute on Halo. Your laser-focused, fast-as-lightning reflexes are your advantage in defeating your terrible foe. Just as you raise your weapon to deliver the mortal strike, your console turns off. You try to turn it back on to no avail. You do everything you know to do to fix the problem, but you just can't do it. So what do? Simple. With a gaming console, you can call Microsoft and have your console shipped to them for repair services. The repair services that console makers provide come straight from the source. You don't need to find a specialist, you just need to send it to one place 99% of the time. And given the market pressures to provide stable, functioning consumer electronics, whatever company made your console will usually do whatever it can to get your product fixed.
Really? Microsoft customer service is usually bad, and if the console breaks it would take 14 to 21 days to get it repaired. And having to send your console to one place is not a good thing. Having more options to get your product repaired is necessary.
PC gaming manufacturers are a completely different story. Gaming computers are made by a myriad of companies, the overwhelming majority of whom don't have to operate under the same level of market pressure as Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo because they aren't as well known. A lot of gamers that aren't really familiar with the PC can't really tell you the difference between Nvidia's graphics cards versus AMD. With consoles, this information simply isn't as pertinent as it is for PC gamers. But let's say you have a problem with your gaming rig. If you're smart enough to figure out the issue on your own, congratulations, you savvy computer devil you. I tip my hat in respect of your computer skills.
Fixing an issue on a computer is not something that needs skill, especially when the issue is just a game crash. Most of the time you can simply search for a solution on the internet and that would suffice.
If not, you're going to have to find a computer repair store, which I have found through personal experience can vary widely in terms of their customer service and ability to actually solve your problem.
Again, your reasons are very vague. What was the issue that you had on your PC? If it was just a game crash, then most probably it would have been fixed by a Google search.
Reason number 3 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that consoles have first-party exclusive games.
And so do PCs. Why is this a point?
If there is any reason on this list that die-hard console gamers should be able to use as solid ammunition in the debate between consoles and the PC, it's that the PC gaming experience, going solely by the games which are released on PC, simply does not offer the fabled lineup that it once held the title for.
That's not a solid argument at all. PC always has way more exclusives than consoles.
Microsoft has Halo and Gears of War, Sony has The Last of Us and Uncharted, Nintendo has Mario and The Legend of Zelda.
And PC has Dota 2, League of Legends, Arma series, Team Fortress, and many other exclusives which are highly rated. In fact, PC has more than 2,400 exclusives.
All of these games have sold millions of copies and are even revered as some of the greatest games ever made. Sure, the PC has been the home of some fantastic series over the years. Crowbar Swingers stand at attention.
But the Crowbar Swingers stand at attention has much better gameplay than the third-person cover-based shooters with 80% cutscenes.
But without first-party developers, the PC gamer doesn't benefit the same way that consoles do in terms of exclusive games.
Nobody is getting benefited here except for Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. And that is why exclusives are anti-consumer. PC exclusives, on the other hand, remain exclusives because Sony and Microsoft are unwilling to let the devs port those games onto their consoles. And most PC exclusives are not ported due to technical limitations like lack of keyboard and mouse support, and insufficient hardware of the consoles. PC is an open platform. Sony and Nintendo promote exclusivity and therefore they are anti-consumer. Microsoft at least has Game Pass so that their games are available on both PC and Xbox.
While Microsoft has been making their games more available to PC consumers, Nintendo and Sony don't appear to have any plans to do so, and their platforms are the only places you'll be able to play their games.
Eso.
Sony and Microsoft have been bolstering their respective number of first-party development studios to prepare for the upcoming 9th generation of consoles. Microsoft Game Studios includes names such as Obsidian Entertainment, Ninja Theory Limited, The Coalition, and 343 Industries. Sony similarly has an array of talented development teams including Guerrilla Games, Insomniac Games, and Naughty Dog Studios under their corporate umbrella. All of these studios have a solid track record of making great games. In contrast, the list of developers who exclusively focus on PC games is very small.
What the hell are you talking about?
PC has more than 2,400 exclusives. How in the fuck do consoles have more developers for exclusives than PC?
And even though PC gamers can fairly point to some categories of games that don't come to consoles very often, such as RTS and turn-based strategy games, console gamers can equally point to the lack of many of the AAA games mentioned above in regards to the PC.
Consoles don't have MMORPGs, RTS, arena shooters, city builders and tycoon games, roguelikes, and tower defense and many other genres. There may be one or two such games, but that is all. And coming to AAA titles, PC has many AAA titles like Stellaris, World of Warcraft, Arma series, League of Legends, and so on. AAA games aren't inherently better than indie games. PC exclusives are the best example for this. Some of the best rated games on PC are indie games, and they are usually better than console exclusives in my opinion. AAA game doesn't mean good game. It only means that the game has high development and marketing budgets and is published by a major publisher. The exclusives point is meaningless, because it is subjective. Objectively, PC has way more exclusives which have higher rating, but subjectively, if a person wants to play a console exclusive, he or she will buy that particular console regardless of whether that console is good or not.
Finally, even the games that do receive PC ports, like some of the sports games that a lot of us are into, don't have as strong of an online community. Look at the sales of Madden NFL 20 on the Xbox versus its PC port. The numbers are simply incomparable.
Well, that's because EA was using microtransactions to exploit their players, and PC players don't support such anti-consumerism. Console players pay for online to play FIFA, so I guess most of them don't care about anti-consumerism.
And besides which, PC ports of games often aren't as good as their console counterparts because companies don't want to spend as much time and resources on trying to make a PC as good as its console counterpart because they know that they won't see as much of a return on their investment due to the PC market not being as strong of a place to invest development resources.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Companies don't see any potential in PC market, especially PlayStation and Xbox. That is why they haven't ported any of their exclusives to PC. Not even one.
See the controversy in 2015 over Batman Arkham Knight on PC.
There we go. Another console peasant mentioning the Arkham Knight for the bajillionth time. It's true that the game had a bad port at the time of release, but they have patched the game and it is now working properly. Bad game ports is not a frequent problem in PC gaming, it is rare and is usually fixed with immediate patches. But even the games that have bad ports on PC, run much better than their console counterparts because PC has better hardware. Can't you mention any game other than Arkham Knight?
Even though PC doesn't have the same list of exclusive games as the consoles do, one thing I've noted people saying about PCs is that they have more games, and while I don't really have any data on hand to refute that point, I'd ask you to go look at the game library on Steam right now, and you'll probably see what I see, which is endless pages of arcade games and other games that, while I'm not really going to pass judgment on them because I haven't played them, the games listed in their libraries simply aren't of the same caliber to make up for the experiences offered by the consoles, at least for the average consumer.
That is subjective. This whole point is subjective, and that is why it's stupid. Exclusives are anti-consumer, they serve no purpose but to exploit the customers, they kill competition among platforms. If all games are available on all platforms, then people will try to choose the best platform which has better features, performance, functionality, and so on. And we all know how that would end.
Reason number 4 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that multiplayer games on consoles are generally going to be more equalized. When you're playing an online game on a console, everyone uses basically the same equipment, whereas on PC, different monitors, gamepads, keyboards, etc. can be optimized for gaming, which means it's possible for some players to have an advantage over others.
Yeah, but unless you have the skill to be good at the game, those advantages are useless.
Whereas again, with a console, there's really not going to be much variation for the average person using a controller, other than their inherent skill in the game. For example, I strongly doubt that many people even own the Xbox Elite controller, but even if they do, I think it's really unlikely for them to be substantially better at a game just because of the controller they're using alone.
Oh, so it's okay if the console players use accessories to improve their gameplay, but it is bad when PC players do it.
And then there's also the issue of specialized monitors here, which isn't a bad thing on its own, but it is definitely something that can have an influence when aggregated against the other technical factors at play here.
High refresh rate monitors, better frame rate, better keyboard and mice, all these just aid your gameplay. It doesn't make you inherently superior than any other player, you still need to be skilled in order to win the game. PC simply has a higher range of skill, higher refresh rate and frame rate allow you to play better, but unless you master the skill, you will not prevail. On a console you can't play better, they have a limited range of skill. PC allows you to actually get good at a game, rather than babysitting you with aim assist and limited hardware.
And finally, we arrive at reason number 5 that console gaming is better than PC gaming. And this last reason might turn on an argument that's similar to the simplicity discussion in reason number 1. But in a word, the final reason that console gaming is better than PC gaming all comes down to optimization. When you buy a console, you're also buying a certain guarantee that you're going to be able to put a console under your television, plug it in, and it will simply work without any major issues popping up. There's no need to evaluate a console's graphics card to make sure it's up to date.
Neither on PC.
You don't need to worry about whether or not other players will have an advantage playing against you online with a mouse and keyboard. Well, you didn't have to at one point.
You don't need to worry about other players having an advantage, and you don't have to, quote-unquote, evaluate your graphics card to keep it up to date. By the way, installing updates is faster on the PC than on the console.
And generally speaking, the experience of gaming on a console is that of overall ease and simplicity.
I accomplished all of these things in roughly 2 hours.
With a console, a night of Netflix doesn't require a special setup or the breaking of social norms.
Neither with a PC. What the fuck are you saying?
Pew Research recently reported that the overwhelming majority of young people have access to or own a video game console. And the fact that gaming consoles are so widely used is a sign of their ability to be seamlessly used by so many people, without having to perform a ton of research on any exact product with certain specs for a certain budget or a monitor setup, so on and so forth.
Well, according to Newzoo, by the end of this year there will be 1.3 billion PC players opposed to only 800 million console players worldwide. So doesn't that mean that PC is a much more simpler, efficient, and an overall better platform for gaming?
As previously mentioned, a console is something that almost anyone can use without resorting to techno jargon or a complicated setup.
And as I previously mentioned, a PC is something that almost everyone already uses nowadays. It is one of the most basic electronic appliances.
Consoles are the perfect, seamless technology that work with almost any existing entertainment item that you have in your home, and it's just incredibly hard to beat the convenience of throwing on a game and then switching over to Netflix or Hulu when you have your significant other over.
You can do the exact same on the PC. You can connect your PC to the TV like a console and play games, watch Netflix, and Hulu and YouTube and so on. Except that your PC will not stifle your internet speeds, and therefore it will be much more quicker and easier to switch between Netflix and gaming. Or you can even get a dual monitor setup and watch Netflix while gaming. The convenience, the efficiency, and versatility of a PC is unparalleled.
Alright YouTube, so those are my 5 reasons why console gaming is better than PC gaming.
It's not, and your reasons are wrong.
So are my thoughts that of a silly console peasant?
Yes.
Are you praying now for the mighty Lord Gaben to smite me as I speak? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. I want to try to keep things balanced, so I'm going to be linking my earlier video on this topic where I make the argument that PC gaming is better than console gaming in the description below. So be sure to take a look at that video, and thanks so much for tuning in.
No thanks, I don't want to watch that video. I gotta go drink bleach and smoke some weed after getting exposed to the nonsense and bullshit spewed in this video. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my video and my horrendously monotonous voice. If so, please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.